Welcome to Private Stories, where people discover who they really are. The engine roared across the empty highway when Daniel slammed the accelerator to the floor. Ahead of him, two red taillights flickered between the concrete pillars of the overpass. The speedometer climbed past 90. Yet the distance between the cars did not shrink. Where is she going at 11:30 at night? The thought beat inside his skull like a trapped bird. Vanessa had said she was visiting her friend Chloe for an emergency conversation. But Chloe lived across the city, and Vanessa was driving toward the industrial district, the kind of place where decent people rarely went after dark. The road curved sharply. Vanessa suddenly turned right without signaling. Daniel tried to follow, but a massive semi-truck burst around the corner like a steel wall. The truck blocked the road completely. Daniel slammed the brakes. By the time the truck finally thundered past the intersection, her car was gone, vanished inside the maze of warehouses and abandoned factories. Daniel pulled over to the shoulder. He turned off the headlights. For a long moment he simply sat there breathing. His hands were shaking, from adrenaline, or from the realization slowly rising in his mind. Something was wrong, very wrong. For 2 months Vanessa had been changing. New clothes, new perfume, gym membership, late evenings at work. She always said the same thing. The hospital had new projects. She had to prove herself. Maybe I am paranoid, Daniel whispered to himself in the darkness. But paranoid husbands do not drive through industrial districts at midnight chasing their wives. Paranoid husbands stay home and imagine things. Daniel stared at the empty road, then slowly turned the car around. The apartment greeted him with silence and darkness. Inside the kids' rooms everything was calm. 17-year-old Logan slept deeply. Tomorrow was his final exam before graduation. The door closed. Water started again. Another shower, the second one since she returned. Daniel stood from the bed slowly. He began making the bed automatically, trying to ignore the growing pressure inside his chest. When Vanessa came back, she wore a soft home robe, her hair wrapped in a white towel. She looked refreshed, almost glowing. "What do you want for breakfast?" she asked while opening the refrigerator. "Eggs maybe." Like every morning they moved around the kitchen in their usual routine. A familiar silent dance. Vanessa cooked eggs. Daniel sliced bread, prepared sandwiches for the kids. Everything looked normal, yet every gesture now seemed artificial. Every smile slightly wrong. "How is Chloe?" Daniel asked casually while spreading butter on bread. "Better." Her husband promised to change. Vanessa kept her eyes on the frying pan. "Hope he means it this time," Daniel said. "What happened?" "Oh, just family problems. I would rather not discuss other people's lives." She placed eggs onto plates and sat across from him, eating carefully, but avoiding his gaze. "I will be late tonight," Vanessa added while finishing her coffee. "Inventory at the hospital. Until when? Maybe 9, maybe 10. After breakfast Vanessa prepared to leave. Daniel walked her to the door. When she leaned down to tie her shoe, he glanced inside her handbag. Among lipstick and usual things, there was a small silver key, clearly a car key, but not for their car. Their keys had black plastic with alarm buttons. This one was plain, elegant, and unfamiliar. But Vanessa kissed him quickly. The elevator doors closed. Daniel remained standing in the hallway for several seconds. Then he returned to the apartment, sat at the computer. Work started at 9, but it was only 7 in the morning. He opened a search engine. His fingers hovered above the keyboard. "How to know if your wife is cheating." He stared at the words, then erased them, closed the browser. This was ridiculous. He was not a teenager looking for answers online. But the strange key in her purse, the midnight drive, the unfamiliar perfume, those were facts. Daniel poured himself another cup of coffee, trying to focus on work. But his thoughts kept returning to Vanessa. to how she had changed over the past months. More attentive to her appearance, yet colder toward him. She smiled more often, but those smiles felt strained. Maybe it is just a midlife crisis, he muttered quietly. 35 is the age when people start rethinking their lives. Maybe she just wants to feel attractive again. But then, why does she have someone else's car key? Daniel leaned back in his chair. If there were answers, they would start with the computer. The family shared one laptop at home. Vanessa often checked her email and social media on it. Daniel opened the browser history. Yesterday's entries appeared. Hospital website, news pages, an online cosmetics store. Nothing suspicious. But the browsing history ended abruptly around midday, which meant it had been cleaned. And Daniel knew Vanessa had done it. Her email inbox looked almost empty. Sent messages contained only work correspondence. And a few notes to friends. The deleted folder had been completely wiped. That was unusual. Vanessa had never been careful about digital traces before. Daniel installed a recovery program. The process lasted 2 hours. But the result disappointed him. Everything important was gone. She had become cautious. Much more cautious than before. And cautious people usually had something to hide. Daniel leaned back slowly, watching the loading bar disappear. The quiet apartment suddenly felt different. Colder. Like a stage where someone had secretly rewritten the script. And he was the only one who did not know his role yet. The next morning Daniel noticed something else. Something small, but impossible to ignore. Vanessa stepped out of the bathroom wearing new lingerie. Black lace. Expensive. Elegant. Not the comfortable cotton sets she usually wore. Her dark hair fell in soft waves around her shoulders. She stood in front of the mirror adjusting the straps. Beautiful, Daniel said quietly. Thank you. She smiled, but the smile carried no warmth. Bought it yesterday. Decided to spoil myself. For what occasion? Daniel asked. Vanessa raised an eyebrow. Does a woman really need a reason to buy beautiful lingerie? She turned toward the mirror again, running a brush slowly through her hair. Daniel noticed something else. Her hairstyle had changed. Before she always wore her hair long and straight. Now it was slightly shorter, styled with soft fashionable curls. When did you go to the salon? During lunch break. A new place opened near the hospital. Very convenient. She spoke casually, almost too casually. At breakfast Vanessa made another announcement. Starting tomorrow I joined a fitness club. Fitness. Daniel repeated. Yes. The doctor recommended more physical activity. Sitting all day at work is bad for health. Which doctor? Daniel asked calmly. The chief physician. Dr. Carter. He recommends sports for all staff members. When she said his name, her lips curved slightly. A small smile. Daniel noticed it immediately. Where is this gym? Near the hospital. Very convenient. After work I can stop by for training. So now late evenings would be explained by workouts. Very convenient indeed. 2 days later Daniel heard the doorbell. When he opened the door, Vanessa's mother stood there. Margaret Bennett. A large grocery bag in her hands. Concern already written across her face. Is Vanessa at work? She asked. Yes. Inventory again. Margaret shook her head. They are exhausting that poor girl at this hospital. Good thing I came. I will help with the kids. She walked into the kitchen immediately, taking out groceries. Daniel noticed something strange. Among the usual food were expensive delicacies. Red caviar, smoked salmon, imported French cheese. Not typical purchases for a retired woman living on a small pension. Where did you get all this? Daniel asked. Vanessa gave me money. Margaret replied casually. She has good bonuses at the hospital now. Bonuses. Another explanation for Vanessa's sudden prosperity. Margaret stayed until evening, helping Emily with homework, cooking dinner, telling Logan stories from her youth. an ordinary, caring grandmother. But when Vanessa called at 9 in the evening saying she would be late another hour, Daniel noticed something strange. Margaret and the children exchanged a quick glance. A nervous one. "Mom works very hard lately," Emily said quietly while eating dinner. "Yes, her job is very demanding," Margaret added. "Dr. Carter is strict, but fair, and very attentive to his staff." Again that name, Dr. Carter. Vanessa returned home around 10:30, tired, but strangely satisfied. She hugged her mother, kissed the children, then thanked Margaret warmly. "Mom, you saved us today. What would we do without you? Family must help family," Margaret replied proudly. After she left, Daniel decided to test a theory. The next afternoon, while Vanessa was supposed to be working, Daniel drove to the hospital. Her car was not in the parking lot. He entered the reception desk. "Good afternoon. Could I speak with Vanessa Bennett?" "Sorry," the receptionist replied politely. "Ms. Bennett left early today." "Early?" Daniel repeated. "Yes. She finished around 3. Did something happen?" "No. Thank you." Daniel walked outside slowly. It was now 4 in the afternoon. Vanessa had said she would return home no earlier than 7. Daniel drove home and waited. At 6:30 he heard the key in the lock. "Hi." Vanessa walked into the kitchen where he was drinking tea. "How was work?" "Normal." "You are early today," Daniel said calmly. "We finished faster than expected." She smiled. But again, too fresh, too relaxed, for someone who had supposedly spent all day counting medical equipment. During the following week, Daniel began observing carefully. Every day he left home an hour after Vanessa, then drove to the hospital, parking in a nearby yard. From there he could see the employee parking lot. Her car was not always there. On Tuesday he followed her after work. She drove to a shopping mall in another district, parked near the entrance, then disappeared inside. Daniel waited 30 minutes, then left. Following his wife through stores felt humiliating. On Thursday, Vanessa drove in the opposite direction from home, toward new suburban neighborhoods. Daniel followed from a distance, but lost her in traffic. Saturday morning brought another discovery. While hanging her coat, Daniel found a restaurant receipt in the pocket. A very expensive restaurant, the kind of place they had never visited together. The bill was large, clearly for 2 people. "What is this?" Daniel asked, showing the receipt. Vanessa did not even hesitate. "Oh, that. It was a corporate dinner last week. Dr. Carter invited the whole department to celebrate finishing a project." "Expensive celebration," Daniel said. "He is a generous boss," she replied. "He values his employees." Again, Dr. Carter. That name appeared more and more often. Sunday afternoon something else happened. Vanessa went to take a shower. Her phone remained on the kitchen table. Daniel glanced at the screen. A new message appeared. From a contact saved only as the letter D. "See you tomorrow. Miss you." Daniel felt his heart drop. He tried opening the chat, but the phone was locked with a password. Vanessa had never used passwords before. The sound of water stopped in the bathroom. Daniel quickly placed the phone back, pretending to read news on his tablet. Vanessa returned wrapped in a robe. She picked up the phone. "Read the message." For a second her face lit with a smile. But when she noticed Daniel looking, her expression became neutral. "Work," she said calmly. "I need to come earlier tomorrow." Monday evening Daniel made a decision. Vanessa had a habit. She always called her mother while cooking dinner, usually standing in the kitchen. Daniel pretended to work in the bedroom, leaving the door slightly open. "Mom, I told you the most important thing is not to rush," he heard Vanessa say. He suspects nothing, but he became more attentive. Yesterday he found the restaurant receipt. Pause. Her mother answered something quietly. Of course I explained it was a corporate dinner. He believed it. Like always, Another pause. I do not know. Maybe another month or two. The main thing is not to make mistakes now. Daniel froze, trying to hear every word. Yes, he suggested it. But I am not ready for such radical changes yet. I need time to think. Who suggested? What changes? Mom, I have to go. Daniel is home. We will talk tomorrow. The call ended. Vanessa began clattering dishes, preparing dinner. Daniel lay on the bed staring at the ceiling. He suspects nothing. That meant there was something to suspect. Another month or two. Until what? What was she preparing for? And who was the man making proposals to her? The mysterious D from the phone. At that moment Daniel understood. Watching quietly was no longer enough. He needed proof. Real proof. And soon. Because whatever Vanessa was planning, it was already in motion. The next step Daniel took felt strange even to himself. But by now suspicion had turned into cold determination. He needed proof. Not guesses. Not emotions. Facts. Daniel found the technician through an online advertisement. The man arrived the next afternoon. His name was Victor Hayes, around 50 years old. Broad shoulders, rough hands, a tired, indifferent gaze of someone who had already seen too many human secrets. Hidden cameras in your own apartment? Victor asked calmly while examining the living room. Yes, Daniel answered. I need to know what happens here when I am not home. Victor simply nodded. No judgment. No curiosity. Just work. 2 cameras in the living room. 1 in the hallway. And 1 in the bedroom. Daniel added. Victor raised an eyebrow slightly, but said nothing. In his line of work he had seen far stranger requests. The installation took 3 hours. The cameras were tiny. No bigger than shirt buttons. 1 hidden inside the bookshelf. Another inside the hallway lamp. The 3rd carefully disguised inside a photo frame on the bedroom dresser. Everything streams to your phone. Victor explained while installing the application. Video and audio. The recording goes directly to cloud storage. Enough space for about a month. That evening Daniel activated the cameras for the first time. The phone screen showed the kitchen. Vanessa preparing salad. Emily telling a story about school. Logan eating silently. A peaceful family scene. An ordinary evening. Yet now Daniel could watch this life 24 hours a day. The next afternoon, while reviewing the recordings, Daniel noticed something unusual. 2 o'clock. When everyone should have been at work and school. The apartment door opened. Vanessa walked in. But she was not alone. Behind her entered a tall man. He wore an expensive suit and carried a small gift bag. Daniel leaned closer to the screen. The man reached inside the bag. He pulled out a bouquet of white roses. Then a small box, clearly a jewelry box. Vanessa laughed softly, accepting the gifts, her face glowing in a way Daniel had not seen for years. Daniel replayed the moment again and again, trying to see the man's face. But the camera angle only showed the top of his head. Dark hair, broad shoulders, confident posture. They disappeared toward the bedroom. Daniel felt something heavy pressing inside his chest. That evening when Vanessa returned home, she wore new earrings. Small, elegant, diamonds, beautiful earrings. Daniel said quietly, "Thank you." Vanessa touched her ear automatically. A bonus from Dr. Carter. He appreciated my work. Very generous boss. Daniel thought silently. The next day he decided to test her story again. At lunch Daniel drove to the hospital. The parking lot looked strangely empty. Only 5 or 6 cars. For a medical clinic in the middle of a workday. That was unusual. Daniel entered the reception. "Good afternoon. I need to see Vanessa Bennett. Are you scheduled?" The receptionist asked politely. "I am her husband. Just need to give her documents." She looked at the computer. "Ms. Bennett is not working today. She has a day off." "A day off?" Daniel repeated slowly. "Yes." Maybe you confused the schedule. Today is actually a very quiet day here. Daniel walked out of the building, the heavy truth pressing harder inside him. Vanessa was lying. Not occasionally. Not accidentally. Systematically. That evening during dinner, he could not remain silent. How was the busy day at the hospital? Daniel asked. Exhausting. Vanessa rubbed the bridge of her nose dramatically. We worked non-stop. Dr. Carter personally supervised everything. He must be tired too. Daniel said calmly. Yes, but he is a great leader. Never shifts responsibility to his employees. Every word sounded natural, convincing, completely false. The next morning Daniel received an unexpected phone call. A male voice spoke quietly. Is this Daniel Bennett? Yes. We need to meet. I have information about your wife. Who is this? The voice ignored the question. Your wife is not where she says she is, and not with who she says she is. What do you mean? We will talk in person. City Park. Bench near the fountain. 1 hour. Wait, but the call ended. Daniel stared at the phone, confused. Who was this man? How did he get his number? And what exactly did he know about Vanessa? The hour crawled painfully. Daniel arrived 15 minutes early, sitting near the fountain, watching every passerby. Half an hour passed. No one approached. Another 20 minutes. Still nothing. Finally Daniel realized. Someone had played with him, or tried to scare him. But why? And why now? That evening he returned home. Another unpleasant surprise awaited him. Margaret and Vanessa sat in the kitchen, talking intensely. The moment Daniel entered, they fell silent. Hello, Daniel said. Daniel. Margaret spoke firmly. We need to talk. He sat across from them. Margaret looked at him with barely hidden hostility. Vanessa told me about your behavior. She began. You follow your wife. Check her words. Interrogate her like a detective. Margaret. Daniel started, but she interrupted sharply. My daughter works hard, raises children, keeps the household running, and instead of gratitude, you accuse her of terrible things. Vanessa sat quietly beside her, tears filling her eyes. I have the right to know where my wife spends her time. Daniel said calmly. You are paranoid. Margaret snapped. If you do not stop, you will lose your family. Mom, please. Vanessa whispered. Do not. But Margaret continued. How else should I react? He torments you with suspicion. Does not let you live normally. Daniel stood up. I will check on the kids. Inside the children's room, Emily worked on homework, while Logan scrolled through his phone. Dad, Emily asked. Why is Grandma shouting? Adults are just discussing something. Daniel replied softly. Mom is crying. Emily added quietly. Daniel sat beside her. Emily, tell me honestly. Does anyone come to see Mom at home when we are not here? The girl hesitated. I do not know. Emily, sometimes a man comes. He brings flowers. Daniel felt his pulse jump. What man? I do not know his name. He is tall, handsome, wears a suit. Does he come often? Not very. Mom said he is her colleague. Daniel gently stroked her hair. Thank you for telling the truth. When Daniel returned to the kitchen, Margaret was already leaving. Think about your behavior, she said coldly, or you will regret it. Vanessa walked her mother to the door. When she returned, her eyes were red. Why are you questioning the children? She asked. Emily told me about the man who brings flowers. He is just a colleague. Sometimes stops by for work matters. With flowers. It was a birthday gift. From the whole team. When was your birthday? Last month. Your birthday is in March. Vanessa froze. I meant a professional holiday. Another lie, stacked on top of dozens of others. The next afternoon Logan came home from school looking nervous. Dad, I accidentally found a phone in Mom's bag. He showed Daniel a photo. A small cheap device. Old model. That is not Mom's phone. Daniel said slowly. I thought the same. Logan replied. I tried turning it on. But it needs a password. Where exactly did you find it? Side pocket of her purse. Wrapped in a scarf. Why would Vanessa hide a second phone? And why keep it secret? Dad, is something wrong? Logan asked quietly. Daniel looked at the photo again. Something is wrong. So, very wrong. And that phone, he thought, might be the key to everything. 2 days later, the second phone disappeared. Daniel checked Vanessa's purse again. Every pocket, every compartment, nothing. Either she moved it somewhere else, or she realized someone had seen it. Wednesday evening, Daniel decided to follow her again. He waited outside the hospital parking lot. When Vanessa's car finally appeared, he started the engine and followed from a safe distance. But after 10 minutes, something strange happened. Vanessa began driving differently, too carefully. She slowed down unnecessarily at green lights, changed lanes without reason, turned into random streets, and every few seconds, she looked into the rearview mirror. She knows, Daniel thought. At the next intersection, Vanessa suddenly turned into a narrow courtyard between apartment buildings. Daniel followed. But by the time he entered the yard, her car was gone. She had escaped through an exit arch on the other side of the block. Daniel slammed the steering wheel. The next day it happened again. Only this time it looked even more deliberate. Vanessa circled blocks, returned to the same street twice, stopped in unexpected places, as if testing whether someone was following her. She moved confidently, almost professionally. Where did she learn this? Daniel wondered. An ordinary woman would never know such counter-surveillance tricks. Friday morning brought another strange moment. Vanessa was searching inside her purse nervously, her movements tense. Did you lose something? Daniel asked. My phone. She replied without looking up. It is right there. Daniel nodded toward the table. Her regular smartphone lay there. Not that one. My work phone disappeared. Why do you keep your work phone at home? Vanessa froze for a second, then suddenly straightened. Why do you care? Her voice turned sharp. You monitor every step now. I just asked. No, you interrogate, like some investigator. She grabbed her bag and headed toward the door, then suddenly turned back. And stop following me. I see everything. The door slammed so hard the windows trembled. Around noon, Vanessa called. I bought a new work phone. The old one was probably stolen from the locker room. I see, Daniel said quietly. And one more thing. Her voice became cold. If you do not stop playing spy games, there will be consequences. What consequences? You will see. The line went silent. That evening, Vanessa behaved strangely. She kept glancing toward the window, checking the door locks repeatedly. Her speech was abrupt, her movements nervous. During dinner, she asked several casual questions about his job, his plans, future business trips. Are you traveling anywhere soon? She asked lightly. Maybe. Daniel replied. I'm just curious. You usually warn us beforehand. Normally, yes. Saturday morning, Daniel finally formed a plan. During breakfast, he spoke casually. Tomorrow I leave for a business trip. 3 days. Vanessa lifted her eyes slowly. Where? Another state. Meeting partners. Back Wednesday evening. I see. She tried to look indifferent, but Daniel noticed the brief sparkle in her eyes. What about the kids? You leave them with me. If you need help, call your mother. I can handle it. Sunday evening, Daniel packed a suitcase, placed it in the car, and left the apartment. But instead of driving to the airport, he went to his friend Marcus. Marcus lived in a neighboring district. Family trouble. Marcus asked after letting him in. You could say that. Daniel answered. Stay here a few days. Marcus nodded. No further questions. Monday morning, Daniel borrowed Marcus's old car, an ancient sedan no one would recognize. He parked near his apartment building. From there, he could see their parking lot, At 9:30 Vanessa walked out, but she looked different today. Instead of a medical uniform, she wore a light summer dress, high heels, and brighter makeup. Definitely not an outfit for hospital work. She entered her car and drove away, not toward the hospital, but in the opposite direction. Daniel followed from far behind. The road gradually left the city. Soon expensive houses appeared. A luxury neighborhood. Large villas hidden behind tall fences. Perfect lawns. Expensive cars. Vanessa stopped near one of the gates. The house was large. 2 stories. Glass walls. Modern architecture. The gate opened automatically. Someone inside had been waiting. Daniel parked about 200 meters away. He took binoculars from the glove compartment. Through the wide windows on the first floor, he saw movement. 2 silhouettes. One female, one male. The man was tall, broad shoulders, confident movements. At one moment he stepped closer to the window. Daniel caught a clear profile. Sharp nose, dark hair, around 40 years old. So this is him, the man with the roses. Inside the house, another light appeared upstairs. The 2 silhouettes moved toward the second floor. Daniel understood what he was watching. His wife walking into another man's bedroom. His stomach twisted painfully. He could not stay in the car. He needed to see that man's face, to know who had destroyed his life. Daniel left the car, moving along the fence. The property was large, surrounded by high barriers. But behind the house the fence dropped lower near a small ravine. Daniel climbed over, landing silently inside the garden. 30 meters from the house, the second floor windows glowed warm yellow, but the curtains were closed. Daniel moved slowly, hiding behind trees, his heart beating so loudly it felt like the whole neighborhood could hear it. He reached the wall beneath a first-floor window. Music floated from inside. Soft, romantic, and laughter. Vanessa's laughter. She sounded happy, really happy. Daniel felt bitterness burn in his chest. He tried to peek through a small gap between curtains. At that exact moment, a loud siren exploded across the yard. The security alarm. Shrill, piercing, movement sensors. Daniel realized instantly. Lights turned on across the property. Voices shouted inside. A man's voice. Check the perimeter. Daniel ran. Branches scratched his face. He reached the fence, climbed over, nearly falling, raced back to the car. His hands trembled so badly he barely managed to start the engine. Only several streets away, he finally stopped, breathing heavily. What had he learned? Almost nothing new. Vanessa had a lover, a wealthy one. She visited him during work hours. But who exactly was this man? That mystery still remained. Daniel returned to Marcus's apartment. The entire day passed slowly, in painful uncertainty. At 8:30 that evening Vanessa called. Did you arrive safely? Yes. Negotiations start tomorrow. Where are you staying? Hotel. Why? Just curious. Tell the kids I love them. I will. Her voice sounded relaxed, satisfied. She believed he was far away, which meant tomorrow she would likely return to that house again. But now, Daniel knew exactly where to find her. The truth, he felt, was very close now, very close to exploding into the open. Tuesday morning Daniel returned to the luxury neighborhood before sunrise. The streets were quiet. Cold morning light slowly crept over the rooftops. He parked in the same hidden place and waited. Every minute felt endless. Around 10:30 a familiar car appeared at the end of the street. Vanessa. She looked even more striking today. A short, elegant dress. High heels. Dark hair styled perfectly. Bright lipstick. She looked like a woman going on a romantic date, not someone attending work meetings. The gates opened again. She drove inside. Daniel watched through binoculars. Vanessa disappeared into the house. 3 hours passed. 3 long hours. When she finally came out again, She looked relaxed, happy. She fixed her hair in the mirror of the car, smiling slightly to herself. Daniel felt the bitter confirmation settle in his chest. Everything he feared was real. That evening Vanessa called again. "How are the negotiations?" "Slow." Daniel answered. "Partners are stubborn. You will manage. You always do." Her voice sounded warm, affectionate, but now every word felt like poison. "Tomorrow I will return as planned." Daniel said. "Good. We will wait for you." But Wednesday morning Vanessa never came to the house. Daniel waited until afternoon. Nothing. At 2 o'clock his phone rang. It was Vanessa. "Daniel, are you really on your business trip?" "Of course." "Why?" "The neighbor says she saw you near our building yesterday." I told her she must be mistaken. Daniel felt a chill run through him. Perhaps she confused someone else. "Yes, maybe." Her voice sounded cautious. "We will talk later." When Daniel returned home Wednesday evening, the family welcomed him warmly. Emily ran into his arms. Logan talked excitedly about school. Vanessa prepared a special dinner. "I missed you," she said softly while hugging him in the kitchen. 3 days without you feels long." But Daniel felt nothing inside her embrace. Only emptiness. The next morning Margaret called. "Daniel, we must talk seriously." Her voice sounded unusually gentle. "Come to my country house Saturday." "Alone?" "What about Vanessa?" "She will stay with the kids." "This conversation is between us." "About what?" "About your family. About saving your marriage." Daniel immediately understood. They were preparing something. "I know a very good family psychologist." Margaret continued. "A delicate woman. She will help with your suspicions." "My suspicions?" Daniel repeated slowly. "Of course. Vanessa told me you became overly suspicious. It happens. But it can be treated." Daniel understood the plan instantly. They wanted to declare him mentally unstable. A jealous, paranoid husband. Then divorce him. Take the apartment. Take the children. Maybe even his money. "I will think about it," he answered calmly. "Do not wait too long. The earlier you see the psychologist, the better." Friday evening Margaret came again to help with the kids. While she was inside the house, Daniel quietly slipped outside, under the pretext of checking the car. He opened her vehicle door, quickly attaching a tiny voice recorder beneath the dashboard. A small device he had purchased earlier could record 8 hours continuously. The next morning Margaret left the house. Daniel waited until her car disappeared around the corner, then opened the application on his phone. The recorder was working. For 2 hours there was nothing, only engine noise, radio music. Then finally Margaret made a phone call. "Oksana, it is me." "Yes." He agreed to meet Saturday. Pause. "No, I did not mention the psychologist yet. First we must prepare him. You understand. We need to stop him. He already knows too much." Daniel felt his heart begin to pound. "Yes, I know it is risky. But what choice do we have? He might hire a private detective. Or worse." Pause. "Of course I am on your side. You are my daughter. But we must be smarter. If he files for divorce, what will you get? Half the apartment. And child support for 1 child." Daniel froze. 1 child. "But if we organize everything properly," Margaret continued calmly, "you will get everything. The apartment, the children, and he will still pay support. Maybe we will even check if he has hidden money. The important thing is that he appears mentally unstable." Pause. "The psychologist will help. I know a woman who will write any diagnosis for money. Jealous paranoia. And that is it. Case closed." Daniel turned off the recording. His hands were shaking. They planned to destroy him completely, take everything, even his children. But the phrase about 1 child still echoed in his mind. What did that mean? That evening Margaret returned cheerful, carrying groceries and wine. "Did you think about the psychologist?" she asked while pouring wine. I thought. Daniel replied. But I am not ready. Pity. Margaret sighed. Vanessa suffers greatly from your behavior. She cried all night yesterday. Daniel remained silent. Let them believe their plan was working. Sunday evening, the next stage began. Vanessa returned home irritated, immediately attacking Daniel over small things. Why are the dishes not washed? She snapped. I washed them this morning. Poorly. Look at this plate. She shoved a perfectly clean plate under his nose. I see nothing. You see nothing. Her voice rose sharply. Right here. And here. Vanessa calmed down. Do not tell me what to do. She threw the plate into the sink. Porcelain shattered loudly. The children peeked from their rooms. Go back inside. Daniel said calmly. Yes, go. Vanessa shouted. Or your father will start his usual madness. I am not mad. Oh yes, you are. She grabbed a cup and smashed it into the sink. Always controlling. Always suspicious. Daniel understood the performance had begun. For the neighbors. For future accusations. But this time he quietly activated recording on his phone. Vanessa stopped throwing dishes. What will you do? Hit me. She stepped closer. Eyes burning. Come on. Hit me like last time. I never touched you. Liar. She grabbed a frying pan and swung it. Then suddenly dropped it, clutching her cheek. Ah, it hurts. Why did you hit me? I did not touch you. Children. Did you see? Daddy hit Mommy. But the kids were still in their rooms. 10 minutes later, the doorbell rang. 2 police officers stood outside. We received a report of domestic violence. May we enter? Of course. Vanessa sat in the kitchen holding her cheek. He hit me. She whispered. Where are the children? The officer asked. In their rooms. They were scared. The officer inspected the kitchen. Broken dishes everywhere. Did you hit your wife? No. Daniel replied calmly. She staged everything herself. Liar. Vanessa cried. The neighbors heard everything. What exactly did they hear? The officer asked. Screaming. Noise. I asked for help. We will talk to neighbors and the children. After questioning everyone, the officer returned. No one actually saw any violence. Only heard shouting. Daniel then spoke quietly. I have video. The officers watched the recording, clearly showing Vanessa throwing dishes, pretending to be struck, accusing him falsely. Interesting. One officer murmured. Vanessa turned pale. It is fake. He edited it. In 10 minutes. The officer shook his head slowly. Unlikely. A report was filed. But no one was arrested. After the police left, Vanessa locked herself in the bedroom. Daniel remained in the kitchen, picking up broken porcelain. They tried to frame me, he thought, first as an abuser, then as a madman. But their plan had failed. And now, he knew something else. Vanessa was capable of anything. The only remaining question, who was the man she was willing to destroy everything for? And why? Soon, very soon, Daniel would finally learn the truth. A truth far more devastating than he had ever imagined. Monday morning arrived quietly. Vanessa poured coffee as if nothing had happened the previous night. Her face looked calm. Too calm. Tomorrow I am leaving for a training seminar, she said casually. 3 days. Daniel slowly lowered the newspaper. Where? A medical retreat center outside the city. Dr. Carter organized advanced training for the whole medical staff. Again that name. Dr. Carter. Daniel nodded. I see. What about the children? Mom will stay with them. Everything had already been arranged. Every detail. In advance. That evening Vanessa packed her suitcase. Carefully. Methodically. Daniel watched silently from the doorway. Inside the suitcase were elegant dresses. High heels. Beautiful lingerie. Not the wardrobe of someone going to a medical seminar. Serious professional training. Daniel said quietly, there will be official events. Vanessa replied smoothly, we need to look presentable. The next morning Margaret arrived with a large bag of groceries, her voice full of exaggerated warmth. "Do not worry, Oksana. I will take care of everything. You go calmly." Mother and daughter hugged near the door. Too long. Too emotional. Almost like a farewell before something important. "Listen to Grandma," Vanessa told the children. "I will return Thursday evening." Daniel walked her to the car. She kissed him lightly, a quick formal gesture. "See you in 3 days. Safe trip." Daniel replied. Her car disappeared down the street. Daniel waited 30 minutes. Then he left the apartment as well. "I am going to work," he told Margaret. But he did not go to work. Instead, he drove directly toward the retreat center Vanessa mentioned. The trip took 40 minutes. The place looked old. A large Soviet-style building surrounded by pine forest. Only a few cars stood in the parking lot. Certainly not the location of a major seminar. Daniel entered the reception area. "Excuse me, is there a medical seminar here today?" The receptionist looked confused.
Seminar.
"No, we only have vacation guests." Daniel felt his chest tighten. Vanessa had lied again. He returned to his car, then remembered the luxury house, the one he had seen earlier. He drove there immediately. The road took nearly an hour. When he reached the neighborhood, he parked at the same hidden place. Vanessa's car was not there. Daniel waited. 1 hour. 2 hours. Nothing. The house remained silent. Empty. Maybe they left somewhere else, he thought. The next day brought another unexpected call. It was Margaret. "Daniel, could you stop by my country house tonight? The faucet broke. I need a man to fix it. I am working today."
No, Jerry.
"Come in the evening." Daniel agreed. Her country house stood 20 miles outside the city. A small wooden cottage. Garden. Greenhouse. Simple and quiet. Daniel arrived around 6:30. Margaret's car was not there, but the door was open. "Margaret," he called while stepping inside. No answer. Inside the living room he noticed something strange. A bottle of wine stood on the table. 2 glasses. One empty, one still full. A woman's blouse lay on the sofa. Then Daniel heard voices. Quiet. Laughing. Coming from the bedroom. He moved slowly, heart pounding, approaching the half-closed door. Through the narrow opening, he saw them. Vanessa, beautiful, relaxed, lying on the bed. Beside her a man, tall, athletic, dark hair, around 40. They kissed, whispered, laughing like lovers who had known each other for years. Daniel recognized him instantly. Dr. Richard Carter, the chief physician of the hospital. The man Vanessa mentioned constantly. Something exploded inside Daniel's mind. Pain, humiliation, rage. Everything mixed into one burning storm. He burst into the room. "What the hell is this?" Carter jumped from the bed, grabbing the blanket. "Daniel," Vanessa screamed. "What are you doing here? What do you think?" Daniel stepped closer. Carter struggled to pull on his pants, his hands trembling. Daniel grabbed him by the shoulder, spinning him around. "So this is you. Listen, we can discuss everything." Carter began nervously. Daniel punched him directly in the face. The hit was sharp, precise. Years of anger in one movement. "Stop," Vanessa shouted. "Shut up," Daniel snapped. Without turning, Carter tried to stand. Daniel kicked him in the stomach, sending him back to the floor. "Get dressed and get out before I kill you. This is a misunderstanding." Carter gasped. "Misunderstanding." Daniel grabbed his hair. "Sleeping with another man's wife for years is a misunderstanding." "Years?" Vanessa whispered suddenly. "How do you know about years?" Daniel looked at her slowly. "Because I guessed." Carter finally dressed, his nose swollen, one eye already darkening. He looked pathetic. Daniel growled. Carter rushed from the room. Moments later the front door slammed. Silence filled the house. Vanessa sat on the bed wrapped in the blanket, crying. Daniel, it is not what you think. Oh really? Then what do I think? It was just a mistake. The first time we just lost control. You are lying. I swear on the children. Daniel sat in a chair opposite the bed, his anger slowly turning into cold emptiness. 15 years, Vanessa. I know everything. She froze. What do you know? Everything. Since the beginning. When you first started working at the hospital. When Emily was only 1 year old. No, that is not true. Then tell me the truth. Vanessa remained silent, tears running down her face. At that moment a car stopped outside. Footsteps rushed across the porch. The bedroom door burst open. Margaret stood there, holding a baseball bat. I saw how you beat Richard, she shouted. Mom, Vanessa whispered. Margaret swung the bat toward Daniel. You bastard. Daniel caught the bat mid-swing, twisting it easily from her hands. The weapon clattered into the corner. Sit down, he said quietly, but with a tone that froze her instantly. You have no right. Margaret stammered. I have every right. Daniel replied coldly. To know the truth about my family. He turned back to Vanessa. How long have you been with Carter? Vanessa remained silent. Answer me. Daniel shouted. 14. She whispered finally. 14 years. And Emily? Daniel asked slowly. Vanessa covered her face, sobbing uncontrollably. Emily. He repeated. She is his daughter. The words fell into the silence like stones. Daniel felt something inside him collapse completely. Emily, the little girl he had raised, taught to walk, protected from the world, was never his daughter. 14 years. Daniel said quietly. 14 years you lied to me. I did not mean it. Vanessa cried. It just happened. Happened. He stood slowly. 14 years of betrayal just happened. You do not understand. Richard is different. He is successful, smart, interesting. And me? Daniel asked. You are a good man. But with him I feel alive. Each word stabbed deeper than the last. Daniel finally understood. Everything was over. His marriage, his family, his entire life, ruined in a single moment. Pack your things, he said quietly. We are going home. And then, Vanessa asked weakly, then we divorce. Daniel walked toward the door, leaving her crying on the bed. Outside on the porch Margaret sat smoking, her face angry and stubborn. So you knew everything. Daniel said. What else should I do? My daughter loves him. She was never happy with you. Then why did she not divorce me? Margaret shrugged. How would she live? On her salary. Richard was married back then. Now he is free. Daniel looked at her coldly. One thing I do not understand. Why invite me here to fix the faucet? If you had not, I might never have caught them. Margaret frowned. I told you to come tomorrow. Daniel smiled slightly. So everything was already planned. Carter's divorce, their new life, and me, the crazy jealous husband. Perfectly arranged. Almost perfect. Almost. Daniel looked into the dark evening sky. The truth had finally come out. But the real consequences of that truth had only just begun. 5 years passed. 5 long years that erased the man Daniel once was. Back then he had left the city broken. A single suitcase in his hand. His son Logan beside him. Everything else remained behind. The apartment. The marriage. The illusions. Now the airplanes slowly descended through the clouds. Below them the city lights stretched like a glowing web. Yellow points scattered across the darkness. Daniel stared through the window silently. His reflection in the glass looked different. Older. Sharper. Stronger. Dad? Logan asked quietly from the seat beside him. Are you nervous? Logan had changed too. The thin teenage boy had grown into a tall, confident young man. Broad shoulders. Calm eyes. A talented programmer who had already graduated university with honors. You do not have to go to the cemetery. Logan continued. I can visit Grandma's grave alone. Daniel shook his head slowly. No, some things must be done properly. His mother had died 3 months earlier. Stroke, hospital, intensive care. A familiar story for a 70-year-old woman. Daniel had flown in for the funeral, stood by the coffin for 10 minutes, then left again. Back then he had not been ready to face the past. Now he was. The hotel greeted them with quiet luxury. Daniel booked a large suite, ordered dinner to the room. Tomorrow morning they would visit the cemetery, then fly back to the capital. 2 days in this city was the absolute maximum he was willing to spend. Logan opened his tablet while they ate. I checked what happened to them, he said carefully. Do you want to know? Daniel nodded slowly. Tell me. Dr. Carter lost his medical license. The clinic was shut down after an investigation. Financial fraud. His wife divorced him, took half his property. Now he works as a hospital orderly, in the same hospital where he once was chief doctor. Daniel simply nodded. He already knew. A private investigator had been sending reports for years. What about Margaret? Logan continued. 2 years ago she had a stroke. She lives in a nursing home now. Partial paralysis. Mom could not take care of her. She has her own problems. What problems? Daniel asked quietly. She works as a cleaner in a shopping mall. Lives in a rented room. Logan hesitated. And Emily? Daniel felt something tighten in his chest. Emily was arrested last year for shoplifting. Logan said quietly. Daniel closed his eyes for a moment. The image of the small blonde girl hugging a stuffed bear flashed in his mind. Now she was 19, and life had already broken her. Does she know I am not her father? Daniel asked. Yes. Mom told her after the divorce. How did she take it? Not well. Logan replied. Everything started falling apart after that. Daniel slowly placed the wine glass down. Despite everything. Despite the betrayal. 14 years he had believed she was his daughter. The next morning they drove to the cemetery. Tall birch trees surrounded the quiet paths. Daniel placed white roses on his mother's grave, standing silently for several minutes. Sorry, he whispered softly. Maybe I should have come earlier. A familiar voice suddenly spoke behind him. Daniel. He turned slowly. 10 meters away stood Vanessa. She looked older. Much older than her 39 years. Cheap coat, worn boots. Her once beautiful dark hair now streaked with gray. Her face tired, exhausted. Hello, she said awkwardly. I saw you from afar, and thought maybe. Daniel remained silent, studying the woman who had once been his wife. How are you? Vanessa continued nervously. I heard you live in the capital now. Logan. Look how grown you are. Handsome young man. Logan nodded politely, but coldly. We are doing well. Daniel said calmly. I know you are successful now. She said quietly. Businessman. Her voice trembled. My life. Our life. Everything went wrong. Daniel. She stepped closer, tears filling her eyes. I finally realized what a mistake I made. We had a good family, and I destroyed it. Daniel watched her without emotion. Dima drinks constantly now. She continued through tears. He does not even pay child support. Emily is lost. I am alone with everything. Vanessa. Daniel interrupted softly. Wait, let me finish. She wiped her face. The children suffer. Emily asks about you sometimes. She says you were the best father she ever had. She regrets not going with you back then. Maybe we could try again. Not as husband and wife, but as a family. For the children. Daniel placed his hand on Logan's shoulder. I already have a family. My son. Vanessa began crying harder. Emily was your daughter for 14 years. She said desperately. Was. Daniel answered calmly. Past tense. Vanessa's shoulders shook, her sobs echoing through the quiet cemetery. Please forgive me. I was stupid. I thought life with Dima would be better. But it became worse than anything. Daniel reached into his coat, pulling out a small envelope. What is this? Vanessa asked. Money. For Emily. For treatment if she needs it. Or education if she decides to study. Vanessa took the envelope with trembling hands. Thank you. But I did not come for money. I know. Daniel replied calmly. But I cannot give you anything else. He turned back to the grave, adjusting the flowers. My mother used to say, everyone receives what they deserve. Now I understand she was right. When he stood up, Vanessa still stood there, holding the envelope tightly. Will you ever forgive me? She whispered. I already did. Daniel answered. Long ago. Otherwise I would never have moved forward. Then why not give us another chance? Because forgiveness does not mean forgetting. And it does not mean repeating the same mistake. Come on, son. They walked toward the cemetery gate. Vanessa remained standing beside the grave, small, broken, lost inside her regrets. Dad, Logan asked quietly while they reached the car. Do you feel sorry for her? Daniel looked in the rearview mirror. Vanessa still stood there, unable to leave. Yes, he admitted, but not enough to change anything. He started the engine, driving away slowly. Revenge had happened by itself, without anger, without violence, without any effort from him. Lies and betrayal had destroyed everyone involved. Carter lost everything. Margaret lay paralyzed in a nursing home. Vanessa became a lonely cleaner. Emily grew up lost and angry. And Daniel built a new life, a powerful company, a future filled with purpose. Justice had arrived quietly, naturally, each person receiving exactly what they deserved. Thank you for watching this video to the end. Visit our channel for interesting and intriguing stories.